What's up, good people? I couldn't wait to talk about this one this morning, man. When people tell you who they are, listen to them. They might not tell you the way that you think that they're telling you what they are. So I'm gonna tell you about a couple of different experiences that I had. First is gonna be through, my life of motorcycling, stuff I've done, motorcycling. I bought my first motorcycle because of a cousin that I admired. He was drag racing, riding bikes ever since I was little. So I bought the joint to kind of, not even be like him, because I didn't think there was no way, but to emulate, do some of the stuff he did. He led the way, so that's why I bought the bike. So I bought it, and I used to take it back and forth to my hometown as I was learning how to ride. Now, the person I'm gonna tell you about, it ain't the guy that I was trying to emulate. So there's another person in his hometown who also rode motorcycles, and they used to drag race, and back then we used to street race, or street play I should call it, because it wasn't really street racing. It was just one or two people getting out there doing their thing. And we happened to go home one weekend. The fella that I'm trying to emulate myself, we go home, and there's another fella there who also rides and has been racing motorcycles. So he like, yo, I wanna race. And he's talking to my guy that I'm with. Yo, I wanna race you on your bike. Because he felt like the guy was superior in his race skills, or his bike was tough. So I said, hey man, I'll race you. Because back then I was so competitive, man. My competitiveness was an issue. At some point in my life, I remember my motto used to be, I'd rather die than lose. And y'all probably gonna think I'm crazy when I say that, but that used to be my motto. I'd rather die than lose. So competitiveness was a drug for me once. So going back to the story, he challenged me. I challenged him to, hey man, I'll race you. He said, nah man, you ain't racing me. You ain't ready for me. And I used to look up to this fella a little bit too, but he was like, you ain't ready for me. So I took it as, hey, he talking down to me, dog. But that's okay. I had an older bike. My bike wasn't the same age as theirs. He thought it was smaller, really wasn't. So he gave me the, you ain't ready for me type thing. I said, okay. So I watched them two go ahead and bang out. And my man that I bought my bike to, my cousin, he smoked them, And me and him was talking. He was like, yeah, man, you can beat that guy. Don't worry about what he's saying to you. Now I looked up at this guy because he's always been around the family. He's always been, a premier dude, had things. The type person that you would look up to if you don't know him. So you can make that mistake in your life too. You start looking up to people until you know them, then you realize, this ain't who I need to be looking up to. So he was kind of one of those dudes. So then, the next year, I bought a bike that was on his level, and I'm ready to go home now. Like, hey man, we finna go down to the hometown. And Cuzzo like, yeah, let's go. So we get down there, and I ride my joint by my man's house. And I know he see it. He won't even come outside. Then I happen to see him. And I said, hey bro, you remember you told me I wasn't on your level. I said, how about now? Am I on your level now? My man say, man, I ain't racing you, man. Ain't no point, man. Ain't no point. So, you the type fella that when I was beneath you, you wouldn't race me. And now that you feel like I'm on your level, you still won't race me. Then what I gotta do to get a race? I mean, what y'all think? Y'all think this dude was just scared, popping his gums? Y'all give me the scenario, because it goes further. A year later, I upped again. I sold that bike. I bought another bike that was bigger, better. I'm a better rider. I'm faster. So really, there's no point in me challenging him now. But he never knows when I'm coming to my hometown. So this time, I rolled up, and we at the gas station. And he outside at the gas station too. So I catch him and a couple of homies. This time I roll up, I don't say nothing about racing. I don't say nothing about motorcycles, but we all on our motorcycles. I just pull up at the gas pump next to his. And I get off the bike and I slowly pump my gas and I look at him. Now, I know what the look mean. He probably don't even know what the look mean. But at this point in time, the fella that I thought was a premier dude. He done failed me twice. One time he made me feel little. The second time I feel like he put me off. And this third time he failed me,
1, 3,
I feel like he running from me.
6, 3.
I feel like he running from me
0,
now.
2.